Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Untitled Reviews. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about The Bear, Season 1, Episode 7. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So far, the most chaotic episode of the season. Also, the shortest episode. I was kind of surprised. I was like, wait, is this episode length correct? Super was. It felt, I mean, it's not like it's short by like a large margin, but it's also like, it's already a half hour show and it's like a 20-ish minute episode, which is kind of wild. Yeah, it's kind of I wasn't expecting the risotto situation to come back into play the way it did. It's like, the thing is, Sid knows kind of what she was doing. Like I said, I think there is some once again, I don't think it's a fault in her, but I do think she needed that gratification because she was getting it from other people. Like, oh, it's so good, it's so good, it's so good. But then what happens when she had Carmen taste it? He was like, oh yeah, it's tremendous. Then he was like, it was great, but it's not ready, it's not perfect, blah, 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 blah. And so I think it's just, she wanted to be like, it is good enough to serve, kind of screw whatever, like, once again, Carmen was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I was a douchebag. I was like, I think he handled that decently. I get it. He definitely should have been a lot more tactful with the way, but he wasn't as douchebaggy as he could have been, as we've seen him be. But yeah, like that ends up being kind of like a catalyst for so much in this episode, because it turns, I mean, just once again, it's one thing after another. It's like, right, they're going to roll out the to-go orders and stuff like that. So they're doing a lot of the more updated system with like the menu and stuff. But the problem is that, like, obviously Tino shows up a little late because she has to deal with her son, Louis. We don't actually know what he actually did. We just know he got in trouble and she brought him to work because she was hoping that Sydney could, like, basically, hey, you fixed my circumstances and, like, I'm killing it at work lately. So I'm hoping that you can kind of, like, point my son in the right direction. Like I said, we don't know what trouble he got in at school. It's like, cool. So that's happening. The fact of the matter is the stuff between Sid and Richie is, like, entering its fever pitch as they kind of go back and forth of like the exchange, like word vomit between them is like insane. But the fact is that Sid kind of screwed up. She never closed the pre-order queue, so like people are just constantly putting in pre-orders, and now it's like, right, we're already severely behind because we haven't been able to prep things. Like, we're rushing on that regard, and we got all these backup orders now, pre-orders ahead of time. So it's like, cool, like we got to open in like 8 minutes, and then like now this is already happening and stuff isn't prepared. Marcus is so fixated on his donut because the whole point is you can work on the donut, just make sure. And Carmen had stressed this point before. Make sure you're done with your work first before you start working on this. Like, yes, this is a passion project, but he became so obsessed with it. That's all he's focusing on instead of the cakes. It's like, right, he got 4 cakes ready. He hadn't even cut them into slices yet. So, I mean, this is like an all hands on deck, even to the point, like, it's like, yo, Fact, you're here, do something, contribute. I even love you hear, like, this single line of dialogue from him, like, ooh, Carmi's mad. It's like, yeah, because this is the most pissed off we've ever seen. Like, he's had his moments, but he's always had, like, this, like, it's weird to say, but, like, a controlled rage where it's kind of like, yeah, but he's screaming, he's yelling, like, he like, because at least, like, Joe McHale, like, he talked mad shit, his character, but at least it was, like, this, like, controlled, like, shit talking where it's just like Carmen just starts screaming at the top of his lungs because it's just like, yo, everything is like falling apart right now because Sid messed up. She's up here chastising Richie and she kind of screwed the pooch on this. To be fair, she's probably like so sidetracked with other stuff. For one, she's trying to make sure everything's good between her and Carmen because of the risotto. The review came in, Ibra was so busy reading it that I was like, the moment the risotto came up, I was like, because Carmen doesn't know that she did that, but he was kind of like, it's fine, it's okay, I'm gonna let it go, whatever. And even kind of been like, oh yeah, she accidentally served the risotto, and then Richie is like, oh really, she accidentally, huh? It's like, that is interesting, because I do agree with what Richie said. There is truth in it of like, right, she didn't know the person she was giving the food towards was a food reviewer, but at the same time, it's just like, I mean, he might not exclusively like review food, but he's a reviewer. And so it's like you are put in a position where now people, he's talking about this risotto being so good. People reading that review are like, oh, this beef place has got good risotto. And it's like, oh, what do you mean the risotto isn't on the menu? It's like you did kind of severely screw them. Once again, she didn't know she was, but it's like she shouldn't have sent it out because Carmen was like, it's not ready. You know, but once again, what was Carmen's point about her previously where he was like, yo, your problem is I talked to other people, you're a good worker, you're still green around the gills, and you're impatient. So, which I mean, obviously it's like the pot calling the kettle black, considering like, I think on most occasions, Carmen will be able to keep his cool, but it's just like, once again, everything is compounding upon itself. But yeah, because Richie, especially in conjunction with last episode, Richie doesn't like things changing too much. And so he's asking, like, Sid, like, what is your plan for this place? And it's like, oh, you came in here, you became the boss. She's like, no, I came here to work and basically turn this shithole into something decent. You know, but it's like, right, you're going to push out our OGs. She's like, the OGs who split a sandwich and order a cup of water. It's like, oh, now that comes off. Now Richie's calling her elitist because he's like, oh, you're trying to push out our poorer customers. And it's like, I guess it's like for Sid, it's like, I'm trying to bring business to us. I'm trying to make this ship like run, which last episode showcased it can. And once again, Richie's on the outside, but this I like it. It is this beautiful contrast of like, yeah, they seem like they're this well-oiled machine last episode, but like I said, this showcased when it rains, it pours, and shit hit the fan this episode, and everything fell apart. This well-oiled machine. I mean, it doesn't help when you have someone who, I mean, once again, like, because things have been running the way they have, like I said, Marcus is in his own world. Tina's in a better place, but she shouldn't have brought her kid here, especially now of all days, especially when they're rolling out like the to-go orders and stuff like that. Richie and Sydney butting heads is not good. And to the point, like, hey, he was kind of told to like help out with everything, but then, I mean, because once again, it trickles down. When Carmen is shitty to Sid, she starts lashing out at other people. And Tina's like, yo, the yelling and stuff isn't you. But Sid's like, yeah, maybe it needs to be. Because it is a thing of like, right, when she tries to be calm and who she is and she's a little bit awkward. Yeah, like when everyone's kind of a little frenzied. When Carmen's frenzied the way he is, not really kosher with kind of like her like typical like adorable awkwardness. But the fact of the matter is, you know, Tina's telling her like to kind of keep it calm, but it's like, you know, she kind of brushes Tina off to kind of like, right, you do your prep, I got to do this. And so her and Richie butt heads, and it's like Richie legitimately was just trying to help out. But I think for Sid, it's like, I've already had it up to here with you. Once again, like, she's cool with everyone else, but like I said, everything with Carmen, it trickled down. So now he's pissing at her, and she's very, like, she already doesn't like Richie, and they had already had their moments, and just everything with Carmen just escalated. Like, things were already at a 10 between her and Richie, and now it just bumped it up to a 15 because of all the bullshit with Carmen, so... Now it is a situation she's going in on him, even bringing his daughter up on it. And even he was like, yo, you are being mean and very ugly right now. And she got the knife, and he's like, whoa, what are you going to do with the knife? You going to stab me? She's like, maybe I will be the one to stab you. And she does, accidentally, because he was backing up, and he's like, okay, I got stabbed. And so he has Ibra treating it, and Ibra is talking about the story of like Civil War and stuff like that. And it's like, and they mentioned some helicopters. He's like, what? Is this shit fucking Black Hawk Down? And it's like, yeah. It's like fucking Piven, and Piven, I was like, I've seen bits and pieces. I don't think I've ever seen the movie Black Hawk Down all the way down. So like, I don't have the full context of like, but I guess it's like, I guess that was based on a true story, but I guess it's like, or maybe at least like some elements of it were. But when he said Piven, the only person I think of is like, I was like, Jeremy Piven? Was he in that movie? I think it's one of those, Jeremy Piven's one of those actors where you go back, you're like, man, he was in a lot more stuff than you kind of like. Because I think I associate him with a lot of comedy stuff, but he has done a lot of dramatic work as well. But it's just like, and just never think about. Like I said, it's like he's the only actor I can think of with the name Piven, but not unless that's the character's name and not in reference to Jeremy Piven. But like when I hear Piven, I just assume like, oh, Jeremy Piven. But that's a tangent and all that. But yeah, the kitchen's a hot mess. And so we have Marcus kind of stormed off because he got yelled at by Carmen. Understandably, Carmen's like, are you fucking with me right now? It's like, yes, you were told multiple times to get back to the cakes, but you didn't. Once again, Carmen's been kind of at least cool and calm and collected, at least been he's always been very, God, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess accommodating. Accommodating isn't the word I'm looking for. He's always been very like, hey, good on you. Like, I appreciate that this is the passion project you're behind. But once again, you're supposed to work on other stuff, but he got so wrapped up in it. He like got so consumed by it. I mean, we've kind of seen that's been the course that Marcus has been on for a while now, trying to get the perfect donut. And he did, but it's just like, nah, like, Carmen slaps it out of his hand. He throws like, Marcus like goes out to the front and like just throws like all the donuts or whatever that he had been working on. And like I thought he was going to just quit then and there. Then we get Sydney quitting because she's like, yeah, you're an excellent chef, but you're a piece of shit. And she's like, this is not on me. And it's like, it is super messed up to do that. You're not solely responsible, but you have played a role in kind of like, once again, I want 100% put the risotto on her, but I can also see why Carmen might like say like, oh, it's all good, but still kind of blame you a little because Richie threw it in your face being like, yeah, you're the one that got the risotto and gave it to a reviewer. And now you've put us in this situation. Also, you're the one that left the queue open in the pre-order. So it's like I said, it's not just one thing. So it doesn't all just fall on Sid, but you could say she was one of many catalyst moments. And now it's just like, yeah, she's quitting because once again, her whole thing was like, I'm not going, that's why she started her own, catering thing, was so that she wouldn't have to be in a system like this of having someone yell at her. Like, she made it clear, right, this place was supposed to be something where we can do it differently, and that's also like supposed to be the point of like, right, that you work under pressure and under stress, you're able to keep it cool, calm, and collected. But Carmen flew off the handle. Once again, he had no right to fly off the handle the way he did. It's understandable, because that's why I'm also like, I am not the person for that job. I do not have the patience. I am not a patient person. I get easily agitated, and my agitation can easily turn into anger. That's a lot of deep-seated shit with me. That's why I connect with Carmen, because I'm like, oh, I see it. You got so much deep-seated shit, you have not figured it out. It's manifesting into anger. Because what do they say anger is? Like, no, depression is anger turned inwards or something like that, has always been how I've heard it. That's probably not the more like clinical definition of it, but that's always been my understanding of it. And Carmen's got a lot of like anger like that and just shit he's dealing with. So adding the stress of like being in the culinary world, it's just going to add more to that, and so Sid kind of leaves them high and dry, and just like Carmen picking something off the floor, tasting it, smashing the machine that like they're taking the pre-orders, and just walks away. I don't know, and he's walking out front. I don't know if that was him just being like, yeah, I'm done too, or walking away. It just, episode ends there, because even Richie's like, yo, are we still doing this, cousin? And just that's it. So, woo. Kind of like a rough episode all around. I mean, when you've kind of got this, there's no time to, I mean, I guess you could, if you wanted to, like, make everything like, but it's like the normal average length of an episode, probably don't want to kind of feel like you want to dedicate a whole episode to it all just falling apart, just so you can potentially resolve all that, and then have the next episode kind of be about building everything back up. How this all plays out for the season finale, I'm so excited to see, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Are we going to pick up immediately afterwards? Because I talked about it previously, like some of the episodes, I don't know if it's all the episodes, but there's obviously quite a bit of time in between some of these episodes. Like some episodes, it's like a week or something. Some episodes, they've been pretty clear about like, oh yeah, it's been a week since the previous episode. So the season finale, is it going to be like minutes later? Is it going to be the same day? Is it going to be like a week or some weeks later? It's definitely going to be interesting to see, like with Sid going, Marcus being in a position that he's in. Carmen hasn't really pissed off Tina or anyone else in the squad. So once again, about that Louis situation too, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. So I'm recording this after the fact, but I went back and didn't realize initially that the thing that Carmen was eating off the floor was the donut that Marcus had made. That look on his face is like, wow, this is actually really good. It's kind of like how Tina, when she found out, like, oh, Sid's actually really good at this. This tastes good. It is that thing of, man, this sucks because Marcus is actually really good. This is actually good. If this was like any other time, I know I'm a complete another asshole for that, but it's like, oh, well. And he kind of has this good look on his face, like happy, like, oh, well, that was delicious, but that kind of quickly fades away. And then he breaks said machine. So I was like, that's definitely going to be interesting. And that, also goes back into what I was saying about, it's going to be interesting to see what the conversation is going to be like. Well, for one, just where Marcus is in the next episode and what Carmen's conversation with him and Sid potentially is going to be about, or at least what it's going to be like. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.